What do you make of the weather conditions here and what role they play in the outcome of either of these games, Kansas City or Buffalo, Mike?
Yeah, they're not moving the game. I mean, it's the thought process of just what you said, Dan, having everybody, oh, yeah, it's a horrible snowstorm. Now get in your car and drive to Cleveland. I mean, it makes zero sense at all. The high that day, the high that on tomorrow in Buffalo is 44. And then the high on Sunday, with the day the game is played, is 28. Wind will have an effect. Certainly the snow, we'll wait and see. As far as Kansas City and Miami, it's going to be cold. The coldest game I ever played in was wind chill 10 below when I was playing for the Eagles. We played in the Meadowlands. And Dan, you can't prepare for it. You can't practice in it. You can't simulate what it's going to be like. You just have to go. Once you get there before the game, when you're going out there, it's now a question of is there snow on the ground or is there not? Is the ground just hard? What kind of cleats am I wearing? Sometimes in bad weather like this, you wear tennis shoes, in all honesty, if there's not like snow on the ground, because your cleats won't dig into the ground. So you'll go out and you'll check that out. Everybody has to be careful with their steps. Offense knows where they're going, so you can turn a short play into a long play because the defense slips. It also, I loved bad weather because I was an average athlete and it brought everybody down to my level. Miami is a Ferrari, and a Ferrari doesn't, run well in snow and cold weather. So the one thing I'll say though, Dan, outside of players being used to warm weather and going to cold weather, the running attack for Buffalo with Mostert being back and Achane, I'm telling you, that could prove very beneficial for Miami. Success on the run, short play action passes to Waddle or Tyreek Hill. So that's what I would expect there. And the other side, running the ball as well with Pacheco. Running games are going to become real important. Tight ends real important. And obviously, KC, a big edge there with Travis.
What is it like to go on the field and then in a cold weather game, and then you see that the offensive linemen don't have sleeves on?
So one of the more stupid things I did in my 9-year career is I never wore long sleeves. And even in that game, we thought this macho thing, which is so ridiculous, Dan, to sit there and think that a guy in professional football is going to look at another guy and say, he's not wearing sleeves. Oh God, I don't want to play against him, is just a ridiculous thought. Yet we all did it as a D-line. I remember in that game in the Meadowlands. And then we went in the locker room and came back out, and a few of the guys put sleeves on. They're like, screw this, I'm not doing it. I left them off, which was just ridiculously dumb. TV timeouts are the worst because you're standing there on the field, kind of ready to go. The worst thing that happened to me there, this was back in the 80s, so they had like those jet engine heaters on the sideline that blew out the flames. I didn't wear gloves then, so I put my mouthpiece. Occasionally I wore a mouthpiece. This game I did, and I kind of hooked it on my finger. And I remember not thinking, my hands were freezing. I put them in front of the flame, and my mouthpiece melted around my finger. So, I mean, it was brutal. And back then, that AstroTurf is horrific. No matter where you're playing. This again was at the Meadowlands. I mean, it hurts like hell when you land. So, like I said, you can't prepare. You just have to go. And unless you're heating your helmet on the sideline, don't ever take your helmet off, because it's like a brick putting it back on.